Manx Radio Sport.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio. Dave Moore with you for the next hour. And despite the weather, we have a packed programme, a roundup of today's action from football, hockey and rugby. Well, we'll start with today's classified check, beginning with football in the ECAP FA Cup quarter-finals. Russian United 0, Corinthians 2, Peel 6, Colby 0. The game between St John's and St George's postponed, and Laxey 4, Douglas Royal 1. In Canada Life Men's Premier League, the game between Douglas High School Old Boys and Moran, match postponed. DPS Limited Division 2. The game between Foxdale and Douglas and District postponed, as to Braddon versus Jims. Castletown 1, Michael United 2. Douglas Athletic against Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys postponed. And Governors Athletic 0, St Mary's 6. Canada Life Combination 1, Ramsey 2, Peel 4. The match between Onchan and Union Mills postponed. As to Ayr United against St John's, and DPS Limited Combination 2, the game between Maloo and St Mary's postponed, and Michael and Jim's postponed. On to rugby, Regional 2 Northwest, Douglas 25, Furwood Waterloo 17. In the Counties 3 ADM Lancashire Cheshire League, Vagabonds 24, Bury 5. In the Ravenscroft Manx Trophy, Southern Nomads Whites 59, Ramsey Blues and Western Vikings 15. Eastern Barbarians against Ramsey Reds in Castletown was postponed. On to hockey, the Ladies Premier League. Castletown B 0, Vikings 5. Backers 2, Valkyries 5. In the Men's Premier League, Castletown 0, Backers 5. Backers B 1, Vikings A 4. And the game between Valkyries and Ramsey was postponed. Ladies Division 1, Ramsey 3, Vikings B 1. No score so far for Backers B against Backers C. Harlequins 1, Valkyries B 0. Men's Division 1. The game between Vikings C and Harlequins A was abandoned. Valkyries B 7, Harlequins B 0. The fixtures in Ladies Division 2, Castletown D against Viking C and Valkyries C against Ramsey B were postponed, and no score so far for Harlequins B against Castletown C. Men's Division 2, Backers C 0, Castletown C 3, Ramsey B 2, Backers Colts 1. And in Mixed Under-15s League, the game between Ramsey Rogues and Rascals and Castletown Sharks was postponed. Castletown Sabres 6, Backers 1, and the fixture between Vikings and Valkyries was also postponed. So a few postponements today, but plenty of action still to talk about. Here in the studio we have Tony Mepham and Ben Cunningham, and also Rob Pritchard will be talking FC Isle of Man as well. And we'll begin with Tony. Tony, big day in the FA Cup. We know some of the semi-finalists. Let me just see if I can bring you up on a microphone here. Bear with me 1 second. So, Tony Mepham, good to have you in the studio. So, a big game down at Croyt Lowy with Rushden United against Corinthians. Beforehand, you'd have thought Corinthians were going to win this, but, in the end it was. But Rushden must have pushed them.
Yeah, they pushed them in the second half. I think it's one of those, Dave, where the weather was so windy and it was sort of blowing from, if you like, the seashore down towards Port Erin. But it didn't really spoil the game. There was chances there early on, and it was Corinthians who took the lead after Josh Ridings finished it really well. Good cross in and controlled it. He feigned the shot and then pulled it back and then hit it with his left foot, and Tony Harris stood there, no chance with it. And the second one, Danny Gerrard, again, it was a good cross by Jay Chatwood from the right, and Danny's not the tallest of players, but headed it in past the keeper to make it 2-0. Rushden had some chances, Jordan Watson in the first half. In the second half, they were having a pop, as you'd expect, with the wind sort of behind them. But Adam Killier, I thought, safe pair of hands today, collected really well. And a couple of times when the defenders sort of had to do their job, they stopped the ball from going over the line. But I think Corinthians deserved it. I know I'm a Corinthians person, but I don't think the Rushden faithful will argue with that one. And Rushden go out and Corinthians go into the semi-final draw.
Corinthians' best chance of silverware this season, is it?
I still don't think they've sort of forgotten about the league neither, because when you look, they've got Luke Murray back in, and like Luke today had a great opportunity in the last couple of minutes to score, but well saved by Harris, and then also he hit the post with a header. So when you've got players of his quality and also Chris Cannell there, it sort of helps. And there's one or two others who are kicking around coming back from injury, so it might just make Corinthians a little bit stronger. But take nothing away, the younger players have come in. Carl Presley today battled well, Stewie Smith, Darren Kane at the back, plenty of experience in there. But Peel at the moment have got advantage because they've played, I think it's 4 games more than Corinthians, and the points are in the bag, as where even if Corinthians win all their games in hand on Peel, they're still 3 points behind them. But Peel and Corinthians do have to meet, so the challenge is still going on up there. But if it's down to 2 teams to win the league, it's going to be Peel and Corinthians.
And would you want them paired in the semi-finals? We have got the draw coming up, haven't we? So
we have Brooks on standby in London, and I'll apologise to him on air myself, but we cancelled the draw this morning due to we lost that Peel and Colby game, but fortunately enough, Colby could accommodate the game. They had it down at Station Road Fields, and it was played, and well done to them. But it doesn't matter when you look at the 4 teams in the hat, or 5 teams. We've got St John's or St George's. We'll try and play that, Dave, next Saturday. Just a little bit of a hiccup. It's St George's free week, so we're just trying to see if they're free to play. Okay. We've got Peel, Laxey and Corinthians, so 4-5 very, very good teams still in it.
Let's talk about Peel then, because they put 6 past Colby.
Yeah, and thanks to Colin Moore, got a bit of a report on this one, and it was only 1-0 to Peel at half-time. Thomas Brown got 2 of the goals, but it was the 4th and the 55th minute he got his goals. There was an own goal on the 60th minute. Fred Donoghue with his sort of debut goal on 78, Paul Whitehead on 90, and Lee Gale on 93. So there's 3 goals in the last sort of 12 minutes. So that's well played to Colby in that one. And after the first goal was after 4 minutes, but Colby's defence battled well for the rest of the half. On a tighter of the pitches, Freddie O'Donoghue scored on his first team debut. Well done, Freddie. We wish you well in the little career that you're possibly going on football-wise. And Paul Whitehead and substitutes Lee Gale scored late on to emphasise Peel's second half superiority. Please thank Colby for offering their pitch this afternoon. Helps keep the fixtures rolling. And from me as well, a big thank you. Well done to everyone in organising it in a short space of time.
Colby, the last of the DPS Limited Division 2 sides in the Cup, and we bid farewell to them.
Yeah, we do, but credit to them. And when you look at Colby, Dave, where they've been over the last couple of years, with no first team and stuff like that, it's credit to them for bouncing back. They've got 2 strong teams. The sort of atmosphere down there is superb, and I think it's going well for them. And today, after 78 minutes, if you'd had said the Premiership side would only be 3-0 ahead, you would have said, no, it's going to be more. So credit to them.
And credit to Colby, because, a lot of investment went into that club when they moved grounds. Where they used to play, now there's houses there.
Yeah.
But they switched across the road to Station Fields.
Yeah, and credit to them because it's a lot of hard work. They got money for the pitch, but then to develop what they got, and to have that Astro pitch there as well as mega, that's an income stream for them. They got
It's a great facility for the south of the island.
Oh, it's brilliant. And when you look at the pitches that they've got two good pitches, and then they've got another pitch just tucked up behind the Astro pitch. No, there's a lot of hard work being done, and they deserve everything that's happening for them at the moment. I think they're on a massive turn.
Okay, good. The other fixture, Laxey against Douglas Royal, 4-1 in the end.
Yeah, report I got on this one. I think Douglas Royal took the lead. Sam Baines, who is over, obviously, from University at the moment.
Yeah,
exactly. He got one, but then two top players, Tina Garvey, FC Alaman player with 2 goals. Brodie Patience got a couple as well. They're 2 cracking players there. Comfortable victory for Lax in the end, 4-1, and they go through.
And the other game obviously didn't go ahead, St John's and St George's. And we'll be bringing you the draw very, very shortly. We'll continue, though, looking at the rest of the other fixtures that took place today. Nothing happened in the Men's Premier League. And DPS Limited Division 2. It was a big game at the top there between Castletown and Michael. And the Northerners took it.
Yeah, superb performance by them. And, well done too. Michael in this one because that's a big result. I didn't think that one would happen, and it was 1-1 at half. 1-1 at half time. Danny Lane for Castletown. Kieran Lane got a goal. I don't think they're related. For Michael, Liam Kane. He's the one that we're hearing good reports about. Scored plenty of goals for Michael, and he got the all-important one today by the sound of it. The winner, which gives Michael a huge 3 points in this chase for promotion, and not only that, chase for the championship as well, because you've got St Mary's involved, Michael, Castletown, and you've got Braddon in there as well, so it's all to play for.
And St Mary's comfortable winners, as you'd expect, 6-0 against Governors.
Yeah, it was, and not too sure the half-time score, but Owen Canepa, he got 3 of the goals today. James Murphy got 1, Therese Thompson with another goal, and Nathan Halsall got the last one, I think it was, for St Mary's. 6-0 winners. Into
Calendar Life Combination 1. Peel with a 4-2 victory away at Ramsey.
Yeah, I haven't got Ramsey's 2 goal scorers, but for Peel, Aaron Castaigne, Ethan Herbert, Joe Krukol and Alec Ekalongo got the other one. 3 players there. Krukol, Herbert and Ekalongo, tremendous young players coming through the system. Aaron Castaigne, lots of experience in the combination today, and obviously helped the young players to get that brilliant result, 4-2 against Ramsey.
So a little bit of a headache now, perhaps, with the fixtures that didn't go ahead today?
Yeah, there is. Next week, unfortunately, it's not a fixture that we've lost at the moment, but St John's were due to play Moran, but we're sort of creeping up on this Easter Saturday ECAP FA Cup final, so we need to sort of keep it going. So next week we'll play the St John's and St George's game, hopefully. If not, we'll put the St John's and Moran game back on. Sorry about that, Moran. And then on the 25th, we've got the ECAP FA Cup semi-finals. Then we've got a set of league fixtures after that. And then we've got Easter, which is the Woods Cup on the Friday and the FA Cup on the Saturday. But then we're going to have to start hitting the ground running with night games, Dave. We've no choice.
OK. What we do have to do, though, is a draw for the ECAP semi-finals. And we should be able to do that now, courtesy of Brooke Longhurst. Good evening, Brooke.
Good evening, gents. How are you?
Yes, excellent. Very good. And you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Can't complain at all.
OK, I'm going to hand you over now to Tony Mepham, because Tony's here for the draw for the semi-finals of the ECAP FA Cup. Take it away, Tony.
Hiya, Brooke. Hope you're okay. I know that weather conditions over here haven't been too good. What's it like in London?
To be honest, it's only just stopped raining for the first time in about 4 days. I was about to prepare myself for Noah's Ark, build it at home kit, but we're finally all right, mate. And I hear it's just been absolute non-stop snow your end for most of it.
Absolute nightmare, because this morning we looked at the draw and I sent you an email to say, Brooke, Dan, we're going to have to bin this, because it did look as if we were going to have 1, maybe 2 of the quarterfinals on, but we managed to get 3 of them on. One of the teams forgave home advantage, and they managed to switch it round. And I'm glad to say your furniture shopping is finished, and you've managed to race back to the office and get the balls ready for the draw. So hopefully you've got 4 balls in the hat, and if you can put everyone out of their misery and do the semi-final draws, please.
Yeah, no problem. So are you ready for the first?
We
first
certainly
draw?
are. Certainly are.
Perfect. And first draw is number 1.
Number 1 is a home tie for Corinthians.
And now play number 4.
Number 4 is St John's or St George's.
And then the next out of the hat is number 3.
Number 3 is Peel.
And Peel will play number 2.
And number 2 is Laxey. So I'll give you the ECAP FA Cup semi-final draw. These games, Dave, to be played on the 25th of March, 2 o'clock kickoff. First one out of the hat was Corinthians against St John's or St George's. And the second one was Peel against Laxey. Brooke, just while you're on, we had a conversation with the FA last week, and you've decided, which is very nice of you, to continue to sponsor the ECAP FA Cup, which is really good news for Manx football.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a great partnership for us. We've always wanted, as we said from the start, to continue to invest back into the Isle of Man and into grassroots football in particular. We've really enjoyed the partnership, and we're looking forward to continue it for another few years to come.
Brilliant. And what are your plans? Are you coming over for Easter Saturday to watch the game?
Absolutely. Dan will be missing it, unfortunately. He's on holiday, but myself and another colleague of ours will be on the island and looking forward to giving the trophy to one of the 4 teams left. May the best team win.
Brilliant. I've got to ask you the question because I gave you a bit of ribbon last time I saw you last week. What about your result midweek in Europe for West Ham?
Look, there's only so much pride you can take out of beating Larnaca. It's about time we got some sort of win. It's just tomorrow we got Aston Villa at home. That's the big one. Can I see us getting something? No, not really. We can barely win an argument at the moment. So, yeah, I'm just praying that there's 3 worse teams in the league than us.
Brilliant. Brooke, thank you so much once again for doing the draw. I know you've had to shift things around, but it means a lot to the people here on the Isle of Man. So we'll just go through the draw again. The first semi-final out of the hat was Corinthians against St John's or St George's. And the second game is Peel will play Laxey. Brooke, thank you so much.
No problem. Have a great weekend, gents, and I'll speak to you again later.
And you.
Excellent. Thank you, Brooke Longhurst of ECAP. So a reaction to that draw then, Tony. Corinthians against St John's or St George's, and Peel against Laxey. So the big 2 kept apart.
You say the big 2.
Well, only for this, the big 2, the top 2 teams for this season, Peel and Corinthians. They are the 2. If you were a bookie and I came in and wanted to put a few quid on, those are the shortest odds I'd get, Peel and Corinthians. Yeah,
possibly are. But when you look at Laxey's current form, you look at last week, Laxey were 2-0 down and ended up 6-3 winners. So that showed character, and they've got some really good young players in there. St John's against St George's. It will depend on where St John's are with Dean Leese because he's in the FC Isle of Man squad at the moment, and these games are down for the 25th. So if fixtures work out that way, Dean Leese could possibly come into that setup if he's involved. But also with St George's as well, as we saw last week against Peel. They didn't have the greatest of games, but they frustrated Peel. Mm-hmm. And it was only in the last minute that Paul Whitehead got that penalty that gave Peel the points. So it's wide open, and I don't think there's any favourites in it. But, Peel are top of the league, Corinthians are second, and it doesn't tell lies.
Yeah, Peel only lost once this season in the league. Corinthians only lost twice. Laxey have lost 7.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
There you go.
Stato, you're getting like Rob over there.
Well, when you've got the master to learn from, it's... right, we're going to stick around because we've got FA Cup action tomorrow as well, don't forget. And women's football, we'll look ahead to that. And also, Rob's also here. We'll talk a little bit of FC Isle of Man, even though they're not in action tonight. And we've got Ben Cunningham still to come as well with rugby, with hockey. But first of all, with rugby, we'll hand over to Dave Christian to get the lowdown on today's fixtures. Good evening, Dave Christian.
Yeah, good evening, Dave. What a day it's been for Douglas and Vagabonds. Douglas, we'll start with, they beat Furwood Waterloo in their final game in Regional 2 Northwest. 25-17 the final score was. Douglas led 22-5 at half-time with first-half tries from Kyle Martin, Rob Todd and Sam McCord, plus 2 conversions and a penalty from Brent Snellgrove. Waterloo came back in the second half, but a second Snellgrove penalty steadied the Douglas ship and that secured them the points. the interesting thing about today's game is that the win for Douglas, coupled with defeats for Wilmslow and Broughton Park, means that Douglas will avoid relegation this season, and they can look to build over the summer for the 23-24 campaign in Regional 2 North West. It's been a little bit touch and go, but in the end, Wilmslow conceded their away fixture against champions Anselmians, and Broughton Park lost at home to Glossop this afternoon. Broughton Park still have 2 games to play, but Douglas are now 13 points clear of them, and well deserved too. Good solid win, and Furwood Waterloo are pretty high up the table as well, so that makes the win for Douglas a little bit more impressive. Vagabonds, on the other hand, they secured their first home win of the season, beating Bury 24-5 in their final fixture. I say home win, it wasn't quite at home. They had to shift the game to the Muirk Park at Ramsey because of snow on the Bella Fletcher pitch that they couldn't get shifted this morning. That didn't put Vaggers off their stride. Stevie Gorn and Dan Bonwick both went over for tries for Vagabonds in the first half. And in the second half, Mark Oldfield went in for 1 and Gorn picked up his second. Cam Finley weighed in with 2 conversions along the way. Ethan Marsh picked up a late consolation try for Bury in the game, and they well deserved that as well, but it was in the final minute. Elsewhere in the league, however, and that's the important thing for Vagabonds, they're going to move off the bottom and potentially, because we don't know how relegation is going to work quite yet, but potentially they could avoid relegation. However, there was one more game that was important today, and it was Port Sunlight versus Duckinfield. Port Sunlight are the team that Vagabonds have gone ahead, and that game was unfortunately postponed due to the weather, so Vaggers are left a little bit dangling now for a couple of weeks until that fixture can be rearranged, and a win for Duckinfield will be enough for Vagabonds to finish second from bottom of the table and with a better chance of avoiding relegation. But that decision is going to be made by the Divisional Organising Committee in a couple of weeks' time. In the final game of the afternoon, it was the Ravenscroft Manx Trophy. That's finished 59-15. It was Southern Nomads Whites against the combined forces of Ramsey's Blues and Western Vikings. 59-15, the final score for Nomads. 2 tries each for Josh Smith, Django Kinley and Jack Slight, and also tries from Ori Watterson, Rob Alston and Sam Kenyuk, with Mark Young weighing in with 5 conversions. I haven't quite got all the scoring information for Ramsey, but I do understand Jared May went in for at least 1 try, and that's as much information as I'm going to get today, I would think. I'll have to catch the lads in the pub later on to pick that up. But yeah, impressive wins there for Douglas and Vagabonds. Vagabonds certainly finishing the season on a high. It's not been easy for them, and they've gradually improved, particularly since Christmas. And the addition of a new coach and the signing of Daniel Bonwick from Ramsey made the difference for them. They deserved this afternoon's win. They were on top pretty much from start to finish, and even suffered a yellow card in the process. Alex Cartney picked up a team yellow card, but that didn't put them off their stride either. Neither did the weather, cold wind and driving rain. But all in all, a good day for Vagabonds, a good day for Douglas, and a good day for Isle of Man rugby.
Manx Radio Sport.
Thanks to Dave Christian with a roundup of rugby. We're going to go back to football temporarily and just talk a little bit. We've got Tony Mappin still here and also Rob Pritchard as well. We'll talk to Rob in a moment about FC Isle of Man. Just looking at the conditions today, Tony, which is the most brutal pitch to play on? I mean, you've played everywhere, I'd imagine. Maybe not some of the newer ones.
Tried to play.
But where were the pitches that really, on a day like today, you thought, I don't want to be playing here?
Today was cold, but I would think at the moment, and I'll put it out there, is Gary Moore, Uni Mills. It's on the top of the hill. It's open. It's pretty cool. But yeah, today was cold.
Where Uni Mills play now?
Yeah, Gary Moore.
Yeah. I've never played on that one, so I don't.
It's right open. There's no real protection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good facility. It's a brilliant facility, but you are open to the elements, and that's the hard one. Is that wind, and if you've got that bit of rain as well, it'd be cutting. And just to give you an idea, I had the heater on in the van, Manx radio van, on the way back, 10 maximum for the whole trip from Rushden. That's how cold I was. So there you go.
So yeah. I don't think there was ever an amazing place. I mean, Ramsey wasn't so bad, even though it was kind of walled in a way. But I'm trying to think of somewhere where would be the best place to play on a day like today. Which was protected from the elements.
Even down at the bowl, Rob will come in on this one. The bowl can be quite cruel as well, because we're standing right in front of the building and the wind comes right through. But it is what it is. It's an outdoor sport and you just sort of crack on. And, today I was surprised that we got those games on.
To be honest, I was waiting for the call today saying no sport.
Yeah. No, we managed to get it through because it just all sort of came together nicely. And down at Rushden, I got a text through at 9:30 this morning. It was clear. And Colby's was in good nick when I went round. But when I dropped Rob home last night, he just had a little peer out the window, didn't you, at Douglas High School Old Boys. And it was white, Dave. There was just no way there was any football going to be played at Blackberry Lane from last night's conditions.
OK, we have hopefully some football tomorrow in terms of the ladies' FA Cup competition. But one game's already succumbed.
Yeah, it has. Douglas Royal and Castletown, that's gone because, again, Bala Fletcher's well and truly under snow. I don't know what it's like now, but certainly at 12 o'clock it was underneath. And Malou against Onken.
Question mark?
Question mark, yeah. We spoke to the people at Malou and just said to them, what are you thinking? And because they called the game off today due to the weather conditions. But
so is this going to be one of those maybe tomorrow morning decisions going to be made, do you think? Or
I would hope maybe tonight. I asked the boys and committee boys as well, Jordan and the others, just if you can make an early call, just so everyone knows what they're up to, because with what's out there at the moment, it's not nice anyway. So there's no point in travelling if the roads are going to be treacherous.
Now, just in terms of the women's fixtures, because next week it's Mother's Day, and that's a free weekend for women's football. Would the postponed fixtures be pushed on to the next Sunday, do you think?
We'll have a look at it, Dave, because the problem is when we come to rearrange fixtures, and there's only a couple to put in at the moment, it's finding that night, and I might as well put it out there, there's no discussion. You don't phone clubs up and say, can you play? You put them on, and usually...
And then wait for them to tell you that they can't. If
they can't play, then it goes down. Well, it sounds a little bit harsh, but we can't just sort of wait for clubs to see what sort of dates they've got players available. So fingers crossed that we can try and get something out. But with losing Mother and Sunday with games next Sunday and Masters, there's no fixtures on as well. It does cause a little bit of a problem, but we're in a good place with the women's football. It's the men's football that I'm seriously concerned about, because when you look at there's one or two Premiership clubs, I think it's Onken and Corinthians, they've only played 14. Well, when you look, we've got the Hospital Cup starting sort of April time, the middle, just after Easter, I think it is. So we need to try and clear some of this backlog before we have major problems struggling to try and get it done before TT.
Is there a possibility that, just say, I mean, I'm being very hypothetical, but would it come down to, just to make sure that the league is the priority, I would imagine, is there a possibility that you'd say, right, sorry guys, but we just don't have room for a Hospital Cup this season?
I wouldn't like to do that purely because of what we had in COVID. We had all sorts, and we got through it in the end. No, we just got to, keep going and play twice a week. And this is what I think will cost Corinthians, because they're looking at twice a week every week. So you're going to have injured players. They've also got Carl Cup to contend with. They've got the Combination 1 trophy and Junior Cups and Hospital Cups. So there's all sorts. But it's all down to the Manx Grand Prix now, because that sort of dictates to us when we can start. And it's usually the first week in September. And with the weather that we've had December, the weather that we've had today, it doesn't help matters.
Okay. Just touching on women's football again, we didn't really have a lot of time that I'd like to have devoted to it last week on the programme, but the Just Play initiative, which took place a couple of weeks ago, very successful. I think there were 60-odd girls down there in the end, and 16 new faces. One thing maybe just a little bit disappointed, I think it would have been nice to have seen some old faces coming back as well. Girls that have maybe used to play football, don't play anymore. Maybe they've gone off for whatever reasons, but it would have been nice to have welcomed some of them back. And but there will be an opportunity for players, old, new and current, again very soon.
Yeah, they're going to try the one on the 29th, which is just before Easter, which is a good time. But the summer one is going to be done in July. I think it's the all of July, I think it is, the whole competition, so it's good. But as you say, 16 new players in was brilliant. 2 or 3 of them have already gone to a club to try and help them. I think it was Castletown. But the older players, if you like, I think it's harder because a lot of them now, Dave, I'm not saying all of them, are parents.
Yeah.
And it's just that juggling act, isn't it?
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
You know, they've just got to sort it out. But it's a good initiative. There's a good working group there who have got, if you like, inside contacts. That's the important one, where they can entice the girls to come out and maybe recommence playing football again, or more importantly, just find a little bit more enthusiasm to sort of allow them to, progress further in the women's game.
So if anyone's listening and thinking, what are they talking about, this Just Play initiative? So it's down at the Bowl, and it's a couple of hours, I believe, and it's just come down and effectively have a kickabout and learn a little bit more about the women's game. And also, it's not just about playing football, there's a social side as well, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And when you look at the Isle of Man FA website, it's all there, the information. And if they need to get in touch or want any advice, I'm sure there's people involved in that working group would just explain to them, because I think what did come out of that first one that they did was that they mixed the better players up with the younger players, the new players, to help them.
They did that.
And you could see that, and it just encouraged them. They weren't coming down suddenly faced by 11 Island internationals and trying to see if they enjoyed playing football. So I thought it went really well.
At first I must admit I was sceptic, because they were doing that, and I was thinking, these new girls aren't seeing the ball. But at the end of the session, all the new players got to play with each other, so they'd all had a little bit of experience of playing with the experienced girls, and then they all got to play by themselves, and they got to see a lot more of the ball, and I think they all came away smiling. What I would like to see, and I don't know whether it's possible, was because, again, if you can't commit to something like that on the night, so they're coming down in their trainers and kind of not very appropriate footwear. Maybe some of the established girls, if they've got old pairs of boots or whatever, and I think this is what happens at youth level as well. There's a scheme where they can bring old football boots along, and the girls who turn up can just try on a pair of football boots for the evening, wear them, as long as they're the right size, etc., and enjoy the football a little bit better than just kicking around in trainers.
Yeah, there's plenty of that around, and I know there's we've got one at Corinthians where we've got what we call a boot bin. You take a pair out, you put a pair in.
Brilliant.
And it works really well. And like some of the boots have hardly been worn, Dave.
Yeah.
But, with the women's football, there's no problem. If someone wanted a pair of boots, there's plenty of sets of boots out there that we could get a hold of. But it's more just getting them to enjoy it first.
That's what I was saying. As I say, come down, just put a pair of boots on. I mean, then put them back if you're not interested afterwards. You don't have, exactly, and then feel even a little bit more part of, what's going on.
Yeah, and it's good, and this is what we're trying to do, because, women's, as you followed it for many years now with your daughter, women's football has sort of ground to a little bit of a halt. Team-wise, we're down to sort of 6 teams, and, when we're going to the Island Games in the first week in July, and we're hoping to bring a gold home. So it just shows you how much talent is there, and there's some really good young players, as you've seen following Charlie. When you look at a new one that's come in, 16 years of age.
There's loads of
Ruby
16
Palmer.
in the Emily Rawlins as well, 16 years
Erin
old.
Snells.
Yeah, Erin Sells has just turned 17. And they're not the only ones. There's Lucy Barnett out at Peel, Leah Clegg out at Peel. There's loads, but we just need a few more. And I'd love to see some girls that used to play football come back. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's been going for a long, long time now. And at one stage, I think, if I remember, 13 teams.
14 teams, I think it was.
14 teams, was it? Uni Mills had 2. It was unbelievable. But, just at the moment, for whatever reason, it's hard. And, when you look at the women's football in England, it's absolutely flying. But even, I think, grassroots football, women's football in UK hasn't gone absolutely mental with what's happened to the Lionesses. But certainly in the Isle of Man, we need more. And the Isle of Man FA aren't frightened to sort of alter things to make it better, but it has to be better for new players.
One of those toughest calls. Yeah, one of those toughest calls. You said new players going to Castletown, but at the moment they are kind of being stamped on most weekends because they're struggling to get players, and not the best place to maybe go to start with. If you're going to join a team that's getting beat 11-0 every week. So, I mean, I know it's tough, and I know the FA can't dictate, but there has to be a sort of maybe a bit of a balance between the clubs to try and make it more of an equal competition.
I think the clubs try and do that. Let's look at Peel. Onken, and also sort of Corinthians, Douglas Road to a fashion as well.
Yeah.
When they're playing against a team and the scores are going well, they do try to sort of even it up. But one thing that does come out from these meetings is that the girls who are maybe having a tough game that day and conceding a lot of goals, they don't want other clubs to feel sorry for them.
No.
It's all a learning curve for them. Don't suddenly put the goalkeeper up front and stuff like that. They don't want to see that.
No.
But there is a way to bring the younger players through. For the better clubs is maybe in games like that. So it's all something that we all need to work hard at to make it a success that certainly football is on the island.
Yeah. Michael United, there's talk that they're trying to get a girls' team together as well.
Yeah, Rob released that a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a good man in there, as I said, Michael Corlett, who's done it before. He's trained the Ireland squad, so he knows everything. But again, it's just getting the numbers up there to get it started, and hopefully another team will come in.
And amazing that we don't really have a team from the north. Not even Laxey, which is quite surprising, really, because they've been really, really good in recent years in providing women's football.
Yeah, when you look at the younger teams that are coming through with it, Onken got terrific numbers coming through girls' football. You've got Douglas and District, but Laxey have got a lot of good players in there as well. But when you look at previous northern teams, Michael have had a team, Ayr have had a team, Ramsey have had a team, Laxey have had a team. So there are people that are interested enough in playing it. It's just someone grasping it and just saying, right, let's get this going here and let's get enough players in. Okay, thanks, Tony. Ben Cunningham still to come with a look at today's hockey, but I'm going to bring Rob Pritchard in now and keep Tony Bepham with us as well. Let's talk FC Isle of Man. We're into March. Let's rewind back to last August. We would never have said, we would be surprised if someone had said, FC Isle of Man just above the relegation places.
Well, you say that, but I think there was an acceptance early on, not just from Paul Jones, who's the interim boss now, but also from his predecessor, Chris Bass. And the messages started coming out very early in pre-season that looking at the quality of the teams that in this league, it is a big step up from the NWCFL Division 1 South into the NWCFL Premier Division. It's quite well noted, not just here, but by other clubs around, that at this particular tier, it's a strong division. Stay in this league, consolidate your place. That was the word that was coming out very early. And as it stands at the moment, yes, they're down towards the bottom of the table, have been for a while. It's been a very challenging campaign at times. But going into this weekend, they have that 9-point cushion from the relegation zone. And I can actually say that it will stay at least 9 points because Bursko, the team below them, lost narrowly today in an absolutely thrilling game over there. They lost 5-4 at home to Wythenshawe Town. So that gap will remain the same no matter what happens tomorrow. FC Isle of Man playing Northwich Victoria, who beat FC Isle of Man back in November 3-1 at the Bowl. So a very good team, and they're in the top 5 places at the moment. Where the points go obviously depends on results around them today and what happens tomorrow. But Northwich Victoria, very good team and a very well established and respected team in non-league football across England as well. Well, looking at FC Isle of Man, 3 wins from their last 4 games. It's been a real turnaround in form, and the last result was a very hard-fought 1-0 home win over Winsford United last Saturday, which Tony and I covered. Northwich Victoria, as I've mentioned, in those top 5 places in the league. But FC Isle of Man's interim manager, Paul Jones, well, he insists his team is in a good place right now to compete, and that confidence is high. I spoke to him this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really tough game, kind of snuck up towards that kind of promotion sort of places over the last kind of 6 weeks or so, getting some really good results. So yeah, it's going to be a real stiff test for us this week, and hopefully we haven't lost any of our momentum that we've been building through the postponement through the midweek game. But yeah, we're looking forward to the test and seeing where we're at.
Now, of course, you lost 3-1 to Northwich at the Bowl toward the back end of 2022, but you beat Winsford United at home last weekend. Winsford then went on to beat Vauxhall Motors, who were, of course, up toward the top of the table as well. Do you think a result like that and some of the other results we see means that, from your perspective, a lot of these teams toward the top are beatable? Yeah,
I think you've kind of nailed it there. You see the results week in, week out, and you can never really gauge who's going to beat who one week to the next. And yeah, some of it will depend on player availability, I'm sure, and whether players have moved on or whether they brought any players in. But yeah, I think every team is beatable for sure. And we're going to have to be somewhere close to our best on Sunday to give us a real good chance of beating an informed team. But yeah, I don't think we go into any game not thinking we have an opportunity to win if we perform well. So we'll take that into Sunday, and hopefully we'll give ourselves an opportunity to get 3 points.
It's been a good few weeks, a real upturn in results. So over the last, I suppose, 7 days leading up to this game, how have you been sort of trying to keep up that momentum and keep up that positivity within the squad to go to Northwich and try and get a result?
Yeah, I mean, I've been away with work most of this week, so I've not been around, so maybe that will help them be in a good place for not having me pestering them for a few days. So they had a good session on Tuesday morning. A little bit of a break sometimes is really good. They've worked ever so hard since we've come in working with them and had a lot of games. So they trained well Tuesday, worked on a few bits that we were looking to improve on after the Winsford game. And a couple of days off is probably no bad thing, really. Yeah, everyone's in a really good place, really looking forward to playing football. I think, in a manager now, my role is to not interfere too much. And I think if I interfere too much or try and add too much into the group when they feel like they're going in a good direction, then I might put some doubts or stop that progression of the team. So yeah, it's just kind of little tweaks and little things to think about, rather than maybe we threw an awful lot at them very early on, which we felt they needed, and now it's just a case of kind of fine tuning things rather than creating things or doing things for the sake of it to look busy. So that's kind of how we've been thinking about really the last week or so.
That was Paul Jones speaking to myself regarding tomorrow's game. So just taking a look at a bit of team news before we move on for FC Isle of Man this weekend. So after securing a clean sheet on his return last week, Dean Kearns will keep his place in goal as Ben Wilkinson, James Rice and Matthew Quirk continue their recoveries from injury. In the back line, Ryan Burns and Tom Shimmin come into Paul Jones' lineup as defensive options, with Jamie Corlett and Owen Sherrod dropping out. And there's a boost in the attacking options as well this week too, as Furo Davies returns to the fold after a 3-match suspension. He replaces Tom Creer. So the FC Isle of Man squad to face Northwich Victoria tomorrow is as follows. It is Dean Kearns, Ryan Burns, Carl Clark, Jacob Crook, Alex Maitland, Tom Shimmin, Dean Leese, Charlie Higgins, Ronan McDonnell, Jack McVeigh, Kyle Watson, Michael Williams, Steve Whitley, Furo Davies, Sean Doyle and Frank Jones. And that game kicking off tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Response to that squad, Tony? What you'd expect? Any names in there that...
I feel for Owen Sherrod. He's got a boot on. I saw him today, spoke to him today, and whether it's a break, they're not 100% sure yet, so we've got to wait and see. But no, it's a good enough squad, and the players coming back in, the number 1 jersey's been the one that we've been looking at, because Ben Wilkinson's been impressive, young lad, plays under 18s, come in and he cracked a bone in his wrist, so James Rice is back in there training, so that'll help things. But I think it's been pretty well near enough the same team that Paul's been picking now, and there's good experience in there that helps blend the youth. And I think Alex Maitland now and Jack McVeigh look so comfortable at the back. Jacob Cook on that left hand side, and then right hand side, whether he plays Ryan Burns or Carl Clark or whoever, Owen Sherrod's been playing really well, then it's great. But it's just up that forward line. Dan Simpson had his operation last week, so hopefully he'll be back very shortly, knee operation. So it's all sort of looking good for the running that they've got, but I think they're safe now. I think they've got what they needed to do, so credit to them. And then it's a question of sort of a little bit more time, I think, to prepare for the 23-24 season than they had preparing for this year.
We don't want to see a repeat, though, in 23-24 or 22-23, Rob.
No, it's important that they do start to build on that. But I think one thing I was going to point out there was Tony was talking there. They have 3 wins from the last 4, which is vital points on the board. All points are valuable at that end of the table.
Well, that's the 9-point gap that they now have above relegation. If they hadn't won those 3, they'd have lost those 3. They would now be.
It could be a very different. It could be a very different. But I think also crucially as well is how well they've shored things up defensively in the last couple of weeks. 2 clean sheets in the last 3. Now that might not sound like much to some people, but at this particular level of football, and you'll see this in the other divisions, not just building blocks, but as well, clean sheets are quite hard to come by at this level of the game. We saw it in the Division 1 South last season when FC Isle of Man were in there. Although they were scoring bags of goals, they were still sometimes conceding at the other end. It was the attacking quality that was blowing teams away. But teams at this level, and I think Paul Jones has said it, Chris Bass before him, these teams are just a little bit smarter, a little bit fitter, and it really does make a difference. But the fact that they now seem to have worked out, at least in these recent weeks, some of the defensive issues that they may have had in times gone by. I think that really is starting to give some of those midfield and attacking players a bit more confidence to start bringing their game forward, that they're not worrying too much about conceding. So clearly a lot of work has gone into it back there. If you look at the system, and we can see it, Tony and I, week in, week out, because we've at that vantage point, we've got the bowl, you've got a solid back three in there, good experienced figures. But when you add in those wide areas, Jacob Crook, who's now regular in the side, we saw his potential last season. Owen Sherrod coming into the mix. I know Tony's mentioned there a knock after the last game as well, so hopefully nothing too serious there. But when you add the pace that they've got to bring to the attacking game, they can then drop into potentially a back five as well. It's been a long transition period for Paul Jones, and there have certainly been, if you look at some of the comments, there have been maybe scepticism. I've put this very question to him a couple of times since he came in, but it seems to starting to come together at the moment, and that will be that term you used, Dave, building blocks. They do have to take that into next season, because depending on which teams come up and come down into that league, assuming that FC Alman stay in there, we obviously, it's not mathematically certain yet. They do have to build from that point, and they won't have the pool of players to maybe bring in that, say, other teams across might do.
Do we have an inkling on who will be in charge next season, or is even there a possibility that Paul Jones might continue in the role?
Well, I don't think
Tony's laughing.
I don't think it's fair to speculate on.
I mean,
that,
do we know if they're any closer to making an appointment?
No, well, if the process closes, I believe it's on the 24th of March. So until they have an idea of who's applying.
So is that the situation? Is it they've reached out and basically said we're looking for a manager? They've not gone headhunting.
It's an open application process. Whether Paul Jones is going to throw his hat into the ring, certainly when I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, he indicated that he might be interested in it. But it depends on which other parties, if any, come in. We just can't speculate at this point as to who's going for the job.
Okay, I think that rounds up all our FC Isle of Man and football business. Thank you very much, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham. We're going to move on next to hockey.
Manx Radio Sport.
And we welcome to the microphone Ben Cunningham. Ben, a mixed bag of hockey today because of rearranged fixtures after, I think, Thursday night was obviously decimated. You had I think there were some games were due to go ahead on Thursday, but because of the weather, they didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. We had a few cup games that were meant to go ahead, but obviously the weather put pay to them, so we'll get them hopefully rescheduled very soon.
Okay, let's start off in the Ladies Premier League today then. No real shocks. A win for Vikings against Castletown B.
Yeah, 5-0 win there. Kim Carney with 2, Zoe Crow with 2, and Sarah Blackman with a goal. And that keeps Vikings very much chasing Castletown A down. And
also Nap Happy were Valkyries against Backers. And 5 different names on the score sheet for Valkyries.
Yeah, 5 different goal scorers for Valkyries A. Ellen Roberts, Ellen Cleater, Maxine Smalling, Flo Barber and Emily Kelly. And then Backers A got 2 goals, Isabel Craig and Louise Corkill.
Excellent. On to men's Premier League. I was just on the Ladies Premier League. That doesn't affect the tables too much, does it?
Doesn't affect the tables, but Castletown B will be looking to get a result next week, or it could be relegation.
Okay, men's Premier League then. Castletown men going down 5-0 to Backers.
Yeah, this was a top of the league clash, first v second. I umpired this game, and it was a very end-to-end game, and then eventually Backers just managed to catch Castletown out and wear them down. Johnny Callow with 2, Carl Moore with 2, and Andy Whiting with a goal and a 5-0 victory for them.
5 goals also between Backers B and Vikings, but Vikings grabbing 4 of those 5.
Yeah, Nathan Evans with 1, Dom Hubble with 1, Archie Cayley with 1, and John Cooper with goals each for Vikings A. And then for Backers B, it was Craig Lees.
And the game between Valkyries and Ramsey postponed. So in terms of the men's Premier League?
Very much as you were. Backers is flying at the minute, and I think potentially could wrap up the title next week. We'll see.
Ooh, okay. Ladies Division 1, Ramsey beating Vikings B 3-1.
Yeah, Christina Kameen, Caitlin Butler, Burnett, and Charlotte Brooks with goals each for Ramsey, and it was Becky O'Brien with the consolation for Vikings B.
Do we have a result for the Backers B against C?
We do. It was a 4-2 win to Backers B over Backers C. I have Backers C's goal scorers. It was Sophie Telford with both goals. The report I've got, though, is Backers B started with a full team, but then finished with 8 due to injury. I haven't got Backers B's goal scorers, but yeah, a bit of a worrying sounding game there at Derby, and they were losing players injured.
On to Harlequins against Valkyries B. A tight affair, this one, just the one goal in it.
And this was first v second in this league, so this game had a lot riding on it, and it was the league leaders that have won it 1-0, and Rachel Milton got the goal of the game, which sealed the deal.
Okay, we'll move on to Men's Division 1. Unfortunately, I think Harlequins were winning against Vikings C, but the match was abandoned.
Yeah, so this game was abandoned at 3-0 with 8 minutes to go. The game was stopped due to player discipline on both teams.
Oh, right. That's rare in hockey.
It's very rare. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
we'll move on from that. But yes, but is there a possibility that score will remain?
That score will stand because it's past the period.
Okay, so even though it was abandoned, it was a 3-0 victory for Harlequins.
And it was a mutual agreement by both captains.
Ah, right. Okay, good. Plenty of goals in the other fixture in Men's Division 1. However, it was Valkyries B who took them all, 7-0.
Yeah, Mike Fowles with 2, Kieran Gell with 1, Steve Cottier with 2, and Michael Deal with 2.
And the Men's Division 1, looking the table?
Yeah, as you were, pretty much. Harlequins A have got that result today, as it'll stand. Valkyries B have got a good result there. Harlequins B need to find a result in their last few games, or it'll be relegation.
Ladies Division 2, games between Castletown D and Viking C and Valkyries C and Ramsey B all postponed. Harlequins B against Castletown, that went ahead though.
That went ahead, and it was a 6-0 win to Castletown C. Bree Collister with 2, Leslie Shimon with 1, Fern Bagazzi with 1, Kira Cooper with 1, and Emily Osborne with goal.
Men's Division 2, Backers C going down 3-0 against Castletown C.
Yep, Jeff Butler with 2 goals and Steve Jackson with a goal for himself.
Ramsey B won 2-1 against Backers Colts.
Yeah, really close game this by the report I've got. Dan Stevens and Alex Shimon with goals each for Ramsey, and then Alex Stewart with the goal for Backers Colts.
And on to the mixed under-15s. Just the one game went ahead, and that was a 6-1 victory for Castletown Sabres against Backers.
Yeah, Robbie Vaughan with 3, Osmond Dunn with 2, and Lower Hornby Wheeler with goal for Castletown Sabres. And then it was Nick Wilson with the goal for Backers.
So how did the girls get on last Sunday? There was a big game, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a big game. The under-18s girls went away, and sadly they lost out 3-1. From the report I got, and Rob posted it onto the Manx Radio page. If you want to read it, it's a fantastic report that's been done. But yeah, it was a real end-to-end game, and from the manager's point of view, from the under-18s, the game could have gone either way. But we've got 2 teams again away this weekend. So we've got the ladies senior team. They're away at Newcastle Ladies First tomorrow, and then our under-14s boys are away at Brookland Manchester under-14s boys in their Tier 2 Knockout Plate Championship game. So we wish them all well.
We do wish them well. We've still got a few minutes just to go before 6 o'clock, and maybe might still involve Tony and Rob in this. But first of all, the Sport Awards are coming up, and there's a very good chance, because hockey never seems to get any awards when it comes to the Isle of Man sports. Yeah, but Sienna Dunn is up for female sportsperson of the year, and she stands a very good chance, having captained England at under-18 level.
Yeah, absolutely. She stands a really good chance to captain England. That's some achievement. You know, it's every player's dream to be able to do that, and for Sienna to go ahead, get that opportunity and take it. And she was named the under-18s Girls Player of the Year as well across.
For England hockey. For
England hockey. That's more momentum for her to potentially get this award at the awards night in a few weeks' time.
One just other thing as well, because the Island Games year as well. And hockey, what's the score with hockey in the Island Games?
Yeah.
Is that your answer?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's a question that I can look into and get an answer for you.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't got that much information on that.
Okay.
But we have got our Ireland teams that go away
Yeah.
in the knockout competitions.
That's county competition, isn't it?
Yeah. So very much. That really could potentially be our Ireland teams. So yeah.
Okay. I'll just bring Tony Mepham back in then because in terms of Ireland Games preparation for both men's and women's teams.
Yeah, we're in full swing now. The men, they're backing off a little bit for games. They've got one, I think it's on the 21st of May. The women are just organising now. They've got 2 trips away, which is going to be good to see. Gives Wayne Leesey the opportunity to, get them off the island and playing against opposition, because over here, restricted men, it's okay. The cost, obviously, for the Island Games has just gone through the roof. Hotels have doubled, flights and everything else. But it's a great competition, and, hockey would be great. I think there's 12 sports picked, and I think it's the island that hosts it can choose the sports. So it's quite interesting. I found out last night, if it's true, that there's no gymnastics. Rob might know better. There's no gymnastics in Guernsey, which I was surprised that there isn't. But certainly football-wise, it's strong.
We've done well, the Isle of
we
Man.
have.
Yeah, they've supplied great gymnasts in the past, and hopefully continue that into the future. And we got great facilities on the island for gymnastics as well.
Well, it is, and it's a few years yet to go when we're going to rehost it again here on the Isle of Man, and it's a massive competition, and it's sort of the stepping stone for new young people that have taken up a sport to come in, have showed excellence on it, and it's probably the first chance of international competition that they get. But certainly football, it's always been tough for the senior men, but the women, they always sort of battle well.
Yeah, I think, is it July 8th to 14th, the Island Games?
That's correct.
Do we know, will there be any coverage of the games? Do we know? Is that being confirmed yet?
There will indeed. I'll be heading over there myself.
Oh, right, okay. Just Rob Pritchard reporting, or
just me flying solo for Manx Radio.
But it's okay. But Manx Radio, so the coverage will just be reports, will it? There'll be no live coverage of games or anything. Do we know yet, or is it too early to say?
It's too early to say at this point. So we still have to wait when the programmes come out, because the team selections are unlikely to take place before the start of April. They do have a deadline, I believe it is by the end of March, but weather announcement. 2 teams have announced already, so we already know the badminton team, we already know the table tennis team. They're 2 of the ones that have historically announced quite early, but we are still at least a good few weeks away from full team selections being announced. In terms of the programme, that is still being worked on. Stay tuned.
Just looking ahead then, when do the midweek fixtures start, Tony, for football? When does that happen? Is it once the clocks have changed at the end of March?
Yeah, we'll probably go the week after Easter, just to give us an extra sort of few days. But Easter is the 7th, 8th weekend, so we'll probably go the weekend after that, because I think the clocks go 24th, is it 24th, 25th? I think
it's
a little bit
last
too
Sunday.
soon.
It's the last Sunday in March always.
I think it's about the 24th, 25th, something like that, or it might be 26th. It's too soon the first week after, but we'll have a look at it. But we've got a bit of a problem now.
Okay, and what about hockey? Are you going to get hockey in, Ben, before the end of the season?
Yeah, we're looking good, pretty much. Obviously today we lost Peel, all the fixtures at Peel. The pitch inspection didn't take long. They arrived and turned around straight away in the car park. It was like an ice ring.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got them fixtures to fit in. All the plate, semi-finals, cup and bowl are all near enough complete, and they're going to be played on the 29th of April. Hopefully we'll be reporting live at the games as well. And yeah, we're on the rundown now. We're nearly there with the end of the league.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we are almost out of time. Thank you so much for your company again, especially Dave Christian as well, covering rugby for us. But it's just time for me to say thank you to Tony Mepham, Ben Cunningham and Rob Pritchard for their company on Saturday Sports Classified. We're going to hand you back now to Radio Caroline, who are going to keep you going through the weekend. But from me and the rest of the team, it's goodbye for now.